When the Communists first came to power in Russia after the Bolshevik Revolution of 1917, one of their top priorities was to establish an elaborate state-run educational system complete with youth organizations such as the Young Pioneers, the Little Octobrists, and the Communist Youth League. The deliberate and unconcealed purpose of which was to indoctrinate young children in Marxist, Leninist, Stalinist dogma. In some areas, the program of indoctrination was supplemented by organizing many other childhood activities like hobbies, music, and recreation. Similarly, when the Nazis ascended to power in Germany in the 1930s, the regime's leaders took all of the wonderful educational curricula that had been provided by the Americans and the British and the French after the First World War during the period of the Weimar Republic and replaced it with Nazi literature, emphasizing military exploits, heroism, racism, and of course, nationalism. Educational materials were drastically and immediately changed to encourage the new militaristic spirit of the German state, especially at the elementary school level. There was, of course, institutional reorganization to facilitate national political training, but additionally, dismissals of teachers, threats, and a general climate of coercion forced a pro-Nazi stance, or at least a submissive attitude among educators. Teacher training was standardized and tightly controlled, with new candidates for teaching positions carefully screened for proper political views. The Nazis also attempted to neutralize competing sources of values by establishing state-operated youth leagues, such as the Hitler Youth, recreational programs, and the like. The idea of indoctrinating young people in the preferred values of the regime was not original to the communists in Russia or the Nazis in Germany in the early 20th century. For millennia, political leaders have recognized that the best way to build loyalty and support for the regime is by molding the values of the youngest members of society. The ancient Greek philosopher Plato argued at length in his classic dialogue, The Republic, for a state-run educational system, the principal purpose of which would be to indoctrinate young Greeks in their proper station in Greek society. Scriptures in the Old Testament indicate the importance of teaching values to young children. Modern psychologists and sociologists have developed two concepts which emphasize the importance of early learning. The primacy principle argues that the values that we learn earliest in life are the ones that form the core of our value systems when we become adults. For most of us, these values remain with us throughout our entire lives. The structuring principle means that the values that we learn earliest in life help us to structure or assimilate new and sometimes competing information into our existing value systems. These two corollary principles suggest that childhood, even very early childhood, is critical in the process of successful value transfer. These concepts suggest that any regime interested in molding the values of its citizenry in support of the system should focus its propaganda efforts on the youngest members of society.